Ever wondered how our world became so industrial? How did we go from farming fields to building skyscrapers? The answer lies in one of the most transformative periods in human history, the Industrial Revolution. It's a story of steam, steel, and a world-changing thirst for power. So let's journey back to the mid-18th century and uncover how this incredible revolution reshaped everything. It all starts in Great Britain around 1750. Before this, life was pretty much the same for centuries. Most people were farmers, and what little manufacturing existed was done by hand, in small workshops or people's homes. It was a slow, quiet manual world. But then, a series of game-changing inventions sparked a fire that would spread across the globe. The first big hero of our story is coal. Britain had tons of it, literally, and they figured out how to use it in new, powerful ways. This led to a breakthrough in iron production. Suddenly, they could produce stronger and more durable iron in much larger quantities. This new iron was the building block for everything that was about to come. But the real superstar of the first industrial revolution was the steam engine. Now, steam power wasn't a brand new idea, but a Scottish inventor named James Watt perfected it in the 1770s. His improved steam engine was far more efficient and powerful than anything before it. It could be used to pump water out of coal mines, allowing miners to dig deeper and get more fuel. But its true potential was about to be unleashed. Entrepreneurs quickly realized they could hook up these steam engines to machines. And the first industry to be completely transformed was textiles. Before, spinning thread and weaving cloth was a painstaking process done by hand. With new inventions like the spinning jenny and the power loom, all powered by steam, a single factory could produce more cloth in a day than an entire village could in a month. This was the birth of the factory system. For the first time, production moved out of homes and into massive, centralized buildings. People left their farms and villages and flocked to the cities to find work in these new factories. This shift was monumental. It changed not just where people worked, but how they lived, how they organized their time, and the very structure of society itself. The steam engine didn't just power factories. It also powered transportation. The invention of the steam locomotive and the creation of vast railway networks shrunk the world. Goods could be transported across the country in days instead of weeks. Raw materials could get to factories faster, and finished products could reach markets far and wide. Then came the steamship, which did the same for ocean travel, connecting continents like never before. Great Britain, with its powerful navy and merchant fleet, became the workshop of the world. So to recap the first industrial revolution, it began in Britain. It was fueled by coal and iron. Its heart was the steam engine. It mechanized production, especially in textiles, and created the factory system, leading to the rise of cities and new forms of transportation. But the revolution was far from over. As we move into the late 19th century, the fire of innovation was about to get a whole lot brighter. Welcome to the second industrial revolution. If the first was about steam and iron, the second was all about steel, electricity, and chemicals. This phase, starting around 1870, wasn't just a continuation. It was an acceleration, with new industrial powers like the United States and Germany joining the race. Let's talk about steel. A new process called the Bessemer process made it possible to mass-produce high-quality steel cheaply. Steel is much stronger and more versatile than iron. Suddenly, you could build bigger bridges, taller buildings, the first skyscrapers, and more durable rails for even faster trains. The modern city skyline we know today has its roots in this breakthrough. Then came the magic of electricity. Scientists like Michael Faraday had unlocked its secrets, but it was inventors like Thomas Edison who brought it to the masses. With the invention of a practical incandescent light bulb, night was conquered. Cities could be lit up 24/7, allowing factories to run around the clock and making streets safer. But electricity was more than just light. It was a new source of power. Electric motors began to replace steam engines in factories. They were cleaner, quieter, and more efficient, allowing for more complex and precise assembly lines. Think about Henry Ford and the automobile. His moving assembly line, powered by electricity, revolutionized manufacturing. It made cars affordable for the average person and set the standard for mass production that's still used today. Electricity also powered new forms of communication, like the telegraph and the telephone, which transmitted information at the speed of light, further connecting the rapidly industrializing world. Alongside steel and electricity, the chemical industry exploded. Scientists learned to synthesize new materials and substances. From fertilizers that dramatically increased food production to new dyes, explosives, and plastics, chemicals changed agriculture, manufacturing, and warfare. And let's not forget petroleum. The discovery of how to refine crude oil into products like kerosene for lighting and gasoline for the new internal combustion engine created another massive industry and a new dependence on fossil fuels. This second wave of industrialization supercharged urbanization. Cities grew at an unprecedented rate, becoming massive, sprawling metropolises. Life was exciting but also incredibly difficult for the working class. People lived in crowded, often unsanitary tenements, working long hours in dangerous conditions for low pay. This led to new social and political movements as workers began to organize into unions to fight for better rights. So the Second Industrial Revolution gave us the steel skeletons of our cities, the electric light in our homes, and the chemical building blocks of the modern world. It created immense wealth and technological progress, but also deep social divisions and challenges. And this incredible industrial power would soon be projected outward, leading to a new, aggressive chapter in global history. So we have these newly industrialized nations: Britain, France, Germany, the United States, and a rapidly modernizing Japan. They have massive factories turning out goods, powerful new technologies, and an insatiable appetite for two things: raw materials to feed their industrial machines and new markets to sell their finished products. Where do they look? To the rest of the world. This brings us to the era of new imperialism, a frantic scramble for colonies that took place from roughly 1870 to 1914. This wasn't the old-style colonialism of explorers and trading posts. This was a systematic, aggressive takeover of vast territories, especially in Africa and Asia, driven by the economic needs of industrial capitalism. Let's start with the scramble for Africa. In 1880, about 90% of Africa was ruled by Africans. By 1914, European powers had carved up and colonized over 90% of the continent. The industrial advantages were overwhelming. European armies armed with machine guns like the Maxim gun could defeat much larger African forces. Steamships allowed them to navigate deep into the interior via rivers, and new medicines like quinine protected them from diseases like malaria. At the Berlin Conference of 1884, European leaders literally sat around a map and drew lines, dividing Africa among themselves without any regard for the existing ethnic, linguistic, or political boundaries. The goal was to extract resources. Belgium's King Leopold took the Congo as his personal property, brutally exploiting its people for rubber and ivory. The British secured control of Egypt to protect the Suez Canal, their shortcut to India, and took over valuable territories in southern and eastern Africa. The French controlled a huge swath of West and North Africa. The justification for this was often cloaked in racist and paternalistic ideology. They called it the civilizing mission or the white man's burden, the supposed duty of Europeans to bring their culture, religion, and technology to what they considered backward peoples. In reality, it was about economic exploitation and national prestige. The same story played out across Asia. The British Empire already controlled India, the jewel in the crown, which was a massive source of cotton tea and other resources, as well as a captive market for British textiles. The French colonized Indochina, what we now know as Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. The Dutch tightened their grip on the East Indies, or modern-day Indonesia. Even China, a vast and ancient empire, couldn't escape. While it wasn't fully colonized like Africa, European powers, along with the US and Japan, forced it to open treaty ports and grant them special trading privileges through a series of conflicts like the Opium Wars. They carved out spheres of influence where they held exclusive economic rights. And let's not forget the newcomers. The United States, after its own industrial boom, got in on the action, taking the Philippines from Spain in 1898. And in the East, Japan, which had undergone its own lightning-fast industrial revolution, began to build its own empire, defeating China and Russia in successive wars and colonizing Korea and Taiwan. This new imperialism was a direct consequence of the Industrial Revolution. Industrial power provided the means, the guns, the ships, the medicine, and the motive, the need for raw materials and markets. It created a global system where a few powerful industrialized nations dominated the rest of the planet. This intense competition for colonies and resources created immense friction and rivalry between the great powers, setting the stage for the catastrophic global conflict that would erupt in 1914, the First World War. From a simple steam engine in Britain to the global carve-up of continents, The Industrial Revolution and the imperialism it fueled fundamentally created the modern world, with all its technological wonders and its deep-seated inequalities. The legacy of this era is still with us today in the global economy and political borders, and in the ongoing story of development and power. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through history fascinating, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. See you next time!